Welcome to Featured Pros Live. We're so glad you could join us today. Before we get started, just a few quick housekeeping notes. This session is being recorded, and my team will send out the recording tomorrow morning so that you can revisit moments or share it with colleagues who couldn't attend live. We also encourage questions throughout the session, so please drop them into the chat, and we'll be monitoring that as we go along. We've set some time aside for Q&A at the end of the session. So on the Lit software side, I'm Hillary Hames. I manage our enterprise relationships. I work closely with law firms, in-house counsel, and government entities as they evaluate and adopt our software, ensuring not only a smooth buying process, but that trial teams see real measurable improvements once they're up and running. Andrea Burton, our Chief Customer Officer, is on a large onboarding call today. She can't join us, but Andrea leads our customer success team. She oversees education and training and manages enterprise onboarding. She also partners closely with our product team to ensure that Lit Suite reflects exactly what litigation actually works like in practice. And of course, Tara Cheever, our co-founder, she's with us as well, monitoring the chat and jumping in with questions and insights throughout the session. And today we're fortunate to be joined by Al Foeckler of Cannon Dunphy in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Al is a highly accomplished plaintiff's trial lawyer, spent years representing individuals and families in complex personal injury and wrongful death matters. He's also one of the longest tenured TrialPad users in the country, having started with the platform back in 2011. And Cannon and Dunphy has a remarkable history of innovation. The firm was an early pioneer in paperless litigation and courtroom technology, long before most firms were even considering those types of workflows. Today, the firm is a full Lit Suite practice, using all of our apps throughout every phase of litigation. Over the course of today's conversation, we're going to discuss how Al builds his cases from day one, how he uses the Lit Suite throughout discovery, depositions, and trial. And those workflows have supported some really significant courtroom successes, including multiple eight-figure verdicts. Most importantly, this is not a product demonstration. It's an opportunity to hear from an experienced trial lawyer about what actually works in practice and how technology can help attorneys become more organized, more efficient, and more persuasive. If you want a demo, just send me an email. Al, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you. Thanks. Appreciate being here. Looking forward to talking to everyone about how I use TrialPad every day, literally every day in my practice. So if you're not, and I shouldn't say just TrialPad, the Lit Suite, if you're only using TrialPad to present at trial, you are missing a significant friend, a significant the piece of technology in the other apps. I literally use DocReviewPad every single day. I use TranscriptPad every single day. They are part of my workflow. They're a part of what I do as a lawyer. The beauty of it is I travel quite a bit. I go to conferences. I speak nationally. I am able to take on my little iPad entire cases with me. Every deposition, I've got construction cases where there are thousands and thousands of photos and documents and videos, and I carry those around with me on airplanes, and I review documents. I sit at home and I watch the Brewers, and I go through a 1,600-page, document production using DocReviewPad. So if people are out there and they know about TrialPad, that kind of seems to be what everyone is familiar with, if they're familiar with it. You have to force yourself to also learn the other apps because they are so powerful, and actually they're all interconnected as well, which really makes it powerful when you add it all together. So it helps you get to the courtroom, and then once you're in the courtroom, that's when you look like you have your stuff together, and jurors appreciate it, judges appreciate it. It's clean, it's quick. You're pulling up documents. I have an associate right now in trial in Waukesha County, and he's running TrialPad, and he has everything on there. He's playing his videos off TrialPad. Um, and he's completely comfortable with it. He's been trained by me on how to use it. He's done a trial before with it, and there's no support staff. There's no one there, doing the tech for him because it's so easy. I mean, you're literally just touching a screen. Um, so I kind of went on a little bit there, but I'm
No,
passionate about it
that's
because I've literally used this for over a decade. I mean, it's been part of my practice for over a decade.
Yeah, I mean, I just got off a call with a large law firm in Philadelphia, and the attorneys were saying, gee, we're really nervous. We're really anxious about using this technology. We're not great at tech. And for them to be on this call and hearing you say that, I think that's very comforting. What would you say to people who say, I'm kind of a dinosaur and I don't love change? Um, and I'm really worried that this is going to take a long time for me to learn.
Well, so here's what I would say. The last trial that we had, we used this was the $15 million verdict last fall. Um, we were flawless. My partner Brett and I put the trial on. We connected an Apple TV to our table's HDMI, and Brett and I could then switch wirelessly who was presenting up on the screen. It was flawless. It was quick. It was easy. I mean, we could get up from our chairs. We could walk around the courtroom with our iPads in our hands wirelessly, pulling up documents, pointing things out on the screen. Uh, it was amazing. The defense, they were using laptops with PDFs and they were changing their HDMI plug from one laptop to the next one, and then they'd want the clerk to turn off their screen so that they could do the switch. And then they're fumbling through and they're trying to pull up the right page or the right PDF. And it was clunky. And I would say probably 2 days in the trial, they looked over and said, "What are you guys using? Like, what is that?" And obviously we shared that with them. The best example, though, of how cool and amazing the software is in trial is there was some objection. I don't remember what it was, but it was objection to a document that was going to be presented to the jury. The defense objected to it. Brett, my partner, was cross-examining, I think, an expert, or it was a direct of one of our experts. And we're at a sidebar with the judge, and there's an argument, and Brett's like, "Well, if I get rid of this, are we okay?" And the defense is like, "Okay." So he literally just taps the redact tool, redacts the portion of the document that was in dispute, and we look up at the judge, and the judge says, "Well, that was cool." And then we just kept going, right? Like there was no like send the jury in the back. We've got to decide, they've got to redact it and they've got to reload a PDF. And it was just seamless. It took, seconds to take care of something and we just moved on. The feedback from the jury after was there was clearly an A team in their presentation skills with respect to evidence and the case. I mean, just generally. And that's due to, Lit Suite and TrialPad. So I would say if there's dinosaurs that say, "I'm not good at doing this," number one is you have to learn it because you get an advantage when you go to trial by doing it. And number two, it's not very difficult at all. It's very intuitive. Again, because it's on an iPad. I know you can use a MacBook as well, but my preference is on an iPad. You're just touching a screen. It's as simple as that. I mean, before this, we were cutting edge. Our firm was cutting edge in that we were, I believe, the first firm in our state, maybe the country, to go completely paperless. I mean, it was a big deal. We had our own software, but we were in the days of binders full of printed paper with barcodes on the bottom. And if you wanted to pull up a document, you had to get this little clicker laser thing, and you had to like get it on the barcode, and sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. So you're kind of like lifting it up trying to get it to work, and it was clunky, and you're carrying around, I mean, boxes and boxes of barcoded documents because each page had to have its own barcode. Here it's all here. It's just on this little iPad I have right now. I think I have 5 cases on here that 3 of which I've tried and 2 I'm getting ready to try. I mean, it's all right here.
So You've been using TrialPad since 2011 and you're very comfortable with presenting. And in our last session, when we were prepping for this, you said that you use TrialPad in remote settings as well, like virtual depositions. Why don't you walk everyone through how that works and share your screen?
Oh, absolutely. So that, yeah, that is the beauty of using TrialPad for a deposition is that you can present the information to a witness instead of again having a folder with the different PDFs and clicking through PDFs. You simply use TrialPad. So here I'm gonna share my screen, and if people don't know it, within TrialPad, um, and all I'm doing it, by the way, on Zoom. So I just click share my screen. All right. And then there's an advanced, you go into this advanced setting. I'm going to walk you through actually. So I click share. This is super easy. And then on the top, it says screens, documents, and advanced. You click on advanced. And then in the top left corner, it says iPhone, iPad via AirPlay. You highlight that and you click share. All right. So then you go to your iPad and you mirror your screen, and you see what shows up on your iPad when you mirror is Zoom, and for mine it's Zoom/AMF. So I hit that, and now you're going to see my screen pop up. So can you see that?
Yep.
Okay. So everyone, this was that mirror button. See this right there? So when I hit mirror, you see, and then I hit Zoom AMF. Super simple, super easy to do. All right. If you don't know this exists within TrialPad, you can do this for prep sessions as well, but you go into this little settings button right here. If you can see my cursor, and you tap on that. And on the very bottom, it says War Room Mode. Usually that's not highlighted, but if you highlight it, it shows your screen on the screen instead of it in normal TrialPad. It's not showing what's on your screen. It's actually showing just the document being presented. But now, since I have it on War Room Mode, you all can see what my side of TrialPad looks like. All right. So for purpose of this, I'm going to open up the Krzyzewski case. That's the case that we tried back in the fall in Ozaki County. And you can see how I have my case organized. Now, look, just like when you prepare for trial using documents, hard documents, things like that, the work goes in on the front end. It takes time to build out these folders. But once you have it done, it's all so easy. It's all right there. You have everything at night when you're preparing, you have everything in court. So usually the first thing I do when I'm going to trial is I make this a master exhibits list, right? So I make a master exhibits folder. You can see this right here. And what I'm doing is I'm usually pulling documents over through Dropbox, right? So I'll have, and another trial tip, and this starts from day one when you handle a case. It's been our firm's policy and my firm belief that you should always, always sequentially number deposition exhibits. Okay. So your very first deposition, you may mark 1 through 4. Your next deposition, start at 5. Don't mark another 1 through 7, right? So deposition 1, 1 through 4, deposition 2, 5 through 9, deposition 3, 10 through 30, always sequential. And you do that because look at this. You have all of these exhibits now. I mean, there's 132 exhibits. I have them all right here. So I have this master folder of all the exhibits in this case. This was almost a 2-week trial. I have every exhibit. So I don't have to worry about, where this exhibit is, anything like that. I'm looking at all of them. And what I do then is that I build out folders, right? So you go in, and what you do is well, I don't want to do it too quickly, but you see this little hand right there? You click that, and then say you want exhibit 23 and you want to put that in your closing folder, right? So you highlight exhibit 23, and then you go to edit and you duplicate it. Okay. So now exhibit 23, do you see there's the duplicate of exhibit 23? It says copy. So now you go back, you highlight it, and then you go to edit and you move it. And you move it into your closing argument folder. And that's it. Now it's in there. Now, when I go back, my closing argument folder, you're going to see in here will be Exhibit 23. See right on the bottom. I didn't actually use that in trial, but and what you do then is you build out, for example, this is my closing argument folder, and you build out the folder with the exhibits that you're going to use during your closing, and you can you can have them by name, but what you do is you put them in custom, so you can then customize the order. So you may want to move this one up and show that to the jury and move, so you can move the exhibits around in the order that you're going to be using them so that you're literally just clicking through, as you're moving through your closing argument, they're all in order. Everything is there. And these, again, are all copied over from that master list. And then I build out voir dire, I build out opening, closing, rebuttal, all the witnesses that I'm going to go through. So if I have a witness, every exhibit I'm going to use with that witness is then in here, and it's organized in the order that I'm going to be calling them up. So I am just popping through exhibits with witnesses, and it's seamless. And I always keep a copy of the deposition in there in case you got to impeach, if you don't have video. It's just a system that I've used for over a decade.
The audience is asking for clarification on something. Can you show us or share with us the difference between what we are seeing versus what the deponent or witness sees?
Sure. So let's go back. So I'm going to close this case, and I'm going to go back to this little icon, and I'm going to turn off war room mode. All right. So now this is going to turn the screen into what a witness will see. So let me go back into Krzyzewski, and now I'm in present mode, right? So if you remember so I'm going to go into my closing folder, and remember I moved exhibit 23 over. This is what they would be seeing during a deposition. All right. So, and the beauty of it when you do it like this, so this is if you're in court and you're projecting this onto the screen, however you're just projecting it up onto Zoom for the witness to view it, and you can use all of the great TrialPad things. So you can call out areas of it, right? I mean, it's so easy. It's all right there, and you can then move through these exhibits, and you can move through that. So now I'm just bouncing through exhibits, and I want to say, and this is where Judy was under these bricks. Actually, I love the new where the tail of the laser. If you hit laser, there's this, it looks like a tail. Check this out. This is a relatively new feature where it leaves a tail, or it sticks. So this is where Judy was buried under, right? So I'm pulling that up during the deposition and using TrialPad just as I would in trial, but I'm actually using it via Zoom wirelessly. This is all wireless. If you would see me, I have my iPad, and I'm holding it, just holding it wirelessly. This is all happening because it's all on the same Wi-Fi system.
And from the audience,
that's what the person being deposed, that's what the other lawyers would be seeing on their screen.
Okay, that was the question. We have one more question from the audience. Do you put PowerPoint style slides in your TrialPad exhibits to use during opening or closing, or do you switch to using PowerPoint in lieu of TrialPad during opening or closing?
I generally build out my folders, and I don't use PowerPoint. In fact, I will almost use TrialPad like PowerPoint, where I may have screens with words, with not a lot of words, but to almost take the place of PowerPoint. I will. No, you know what? I use PowerPoint to present, when I'm around the country doing presentations. But I haven't done it in trial just because I find this system so convenient with TrialPad that I honestly don't use PowerPoint.
Great. Well, let's move back into discovery phase. Um, let's see. You
So,
told
all right.
Tara about a major trial in 2014 that drew live television coverage when the verdict came in. Can you tell us about that case and how how TrialPad fit into your presentation strategy there?
Yeah. So, if anyone is on here from the Milwaukee area, Wisconsin area, they'll remember the O'Donnell Park case. That was a 13.5 ton panel. We have what's called Summerfest down on our lakefront in Milwaukee, and it's a huge. It's one of the largest music festivals in the world, maybe the largest. It's a huge music festival. It's really part of our DNA as a community in Milwaukee. It's a big deal. We have the top bands. Post Malone will be there this year, for example. Um, Back in 2010, Jared Kellner was walking out of the O'Donnell Park parking structure with another family and his friend, and a 13.5 ton panel fell off the parking structure and fell on top of him and killed him. It was tragic. It was a big deal in our community because it was during Summerfest. There was live coverage of it with helicopters. Here's the panel that fell. And when that case got tried in 2014, I was the main trial lawyer on the case, and I used TrialPad. I mean, that was part of what I did. Now, I will say, 12 years ago, it was a lot more glitchy, and I don't actually attribute that at all to TrialPad. I attribute that to older iPads. I think the older iPads just didn't have the horsepower to, successfully play an entire video, for example. Now it is flawless. Any glitching that I experienced back in 2014 absolutely doesn't happen anymore. But that was a 6-week trial when I think it bled into week 7
Mhm.
with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of exhibits and countless witnesses. And I 100% used TrialPad for that entire trial. That was the first, I shouldn't say that. I tried a couple cases before that, small cases, where I moved away from that old system that I described with binders and barcoded pages of documents. I made the switch and took some heat for it, to be honest with you, because it was a new thing, and it was amazing. It worked well. Um, we presented evidence to the jury, no problem. So,
That's great. I wanted to
but
walk it
you know
back.
what? I forgot. When the
Huh?
verdict came down, because this was such a big deal, literally the news broke in live for the verdict. Courtroom was packed, couldn't move, and when the verdict was read, it was broken live. That's because of the circumstances of it being at Summerfest. I think it kind of caught the attention of the community and the news.
So I wanted you to finish that story first, but let's walk it back to discovery and what happens when documents first arrive in a case. Can you share your screen and show us how you're organizing documents in DocReviewPad and TranscriptPad?
Yeah, can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I use DocReviewPad. So I'll open DocReviewPad and um, I'll open up a case. I'll open up this Wallencam case. And again, it's a lot of it is I develop folders for the different productions. So Guthorn, for example, that was one of the experts in the case. And I move all of his materials that he produced into here. So again, I'm sitting on the couch, I'm going through and I'm reading the emails back and forth between the defense at night. This is all or this case, one of the defendants in this case is Sunbelt. So they have produced, 3,000 documents. I have them all here. I can look at them on an airplane. They're all right here. And I can just flip through and review all the documents. The way I use DocReviewPad though is that if you see up on the top here, this tag or issue right there, as you're reviewing documents, you can tag certain documents, certain pages of documents with issue codes, say punitive damages or liability, whatever. But what I find most helpful is I create issue codes based on witnesses. So if you look at this, so these are the issue codes that I have in this case. You can see that this document, Marcus Dillo, I spelled that wrong. It's supposed to be with a W. This is actually a document that I've used with that I marked for Marcus Dillo, right? So say that I wanted this page and I wanted it only for Mitchell Strzelko. I simply, whoops. Well, let's just say I wanted Mike Borchert. I just mark the page, and it's as simple as highlighting the different page, and you can also what's called you see that speed review on the bottom. That's also super handy. Instead of using this, you have the speed review as you're going through documents. Say I want this one to apply to Brent Hoover. So again, you create these folders, or you mark the document for whatever witness, and then here's the beauty, right? So now let's go back. Now I'm going to export down here. I'm gonna do an export, and I'm gonna do an export of these Sunbelt documents that I was just looking at, right? Sunbelt 1838 to 3002. So I'm gonna do an export, and I'm gonna say, do you want to export by document or pages? Well, since some of them I was marking more than just the document, I was marking specific pages. I'm going to do it by page so that if you mark something document, it'll move over the entire document. But I was also marking. So then you say, okay, so what do you want to export? I turn off export all. I don't want to do that. I turn this off. And then I find, let's say I want to, so I turn off the issue codes. And let's say I want to move over all the documents for Michael Borchert, because I'm going to take Michael Borchert's deposition in a few days. So I've gone through the documents, identified what documents I want to talk about with Michael Borchert, and I issue coded those and mark them Borchert Michael. So then I turn on that, right? So now all that's going to be exported are the documents that I marked for Michael Borchert. You select what to include. Do you want confidential privilege? Sure. Include with the export. Yeah, you can include all that. Choose the naming convention. This is fine. And then you choose where you want to export them to. And I'm going to export them to TrialPad. Now think about this. What I just did is I just went through 3,000 pages of documents. I marked however many pages that I wanted to review with Mike Borchert. Now I'm going to be able to export those over to TrialPad and have the folder that I'm then going to use during the deposition of the documents that I want to use with him. It's flawless. So, and it just works. So you will see then it took it right over. Oh, you know what? I need to go back. I need to show this in War Room. So what you didn't see is that literally when I clicked export, it opened up TrialPad. And now in that Wallencamp case, if you look on the bottom left, if you can see this little plus sign with the 1, that means that it moved over the documents. And I'm going to add this new file. So this is Doc Review Export 2026 June 9th. This is what I just created. I'm going to highlight that, and then I'm going to import them. So now you'll see the folder down here, and this has the documents that I want to review with him. Now I only marked one, But if you mark 20, they would all be in there. And then what you do is you simply, what I'm doing is I'm going up to this little hand, tapping it. I'm marking that folder right here. Then I'm going to hit edit and I'm going to rename it. And I'm going to rename it to Orchard Dep Exhibits. So now when I take Orchard's deposition in a few days, I have the folder in TrialPad that I will then be able to pull up the documents and share during the deposition, like I showed earlier when we were moving through the different documents. So that's DocReviewPad and how that integrates with TrialPad and how I use it to mark documents for witnesses so that I'm able to build out these folders as I'm looking at as I'm reviewing the documents within DocReviewPad.
How much time do you think that saves you?
Oh my God. I mean, think about doing it, you know, think about the old way. I mean, you would like have to, if you were doing it with paper, you would have to like photocopy the different pages that you would want. And then I don't know, if you're doing it by Zoom, then you scan them or you print certain pages as a PDF. It would be I couldn't handle the amount the documents that are produced in the cases that I handled without this. I've become so used to it and it's saved me so much time and there's so much convenience.
How large is the storage space on your iPad? I have prospective clients asking me all the time, do I need 2 TB? Do I need 500 gigs? Like,
Yeah, so here I'll show you. Shockingly, so I have a 512 gig iPad and I have 318 gigs available. Like, and I have a ton of stuff on here. Um,
so then
just
you're not
this.
bringing in entire universes of documents into DocReviewPad. That's another question that I get a lot is, are we using this as an e-discovery platform? Are we bringing everything in or just a smaller subset of productions? And
Anything produced in this Wallencamp case, for instance, any document produced, I have in DocReviewPad. That's how I review the documents when they come in. Um, that's how I found it most convenient. Uh, I mean, the other thing is like you can search, and this also applies even more to TranscriptPad, but you can do a universal search of all these documents, and you say you want to search for mobile elevated work platform, a MUP, right? It pulls up every time MUP is used in the different documents. I mean,
Mhm.
it's just so flawless on how on how things work. Um,
I
you
have
know,
a lot of
so
questions rolling in. How do you get the exhibits to the court reporter? Or what if opposing counsel objects and asks for paper?
um, during a during a Zoom deposition or during a trial. Well,
I
during
would
trial, okay,
assume,
so during I'll do it separately. During a Zoom deposition, I've never had anyone ask for paper. I generally will share the documents that I'm going to use shortly beforehand, and I also can quickly and easily share them with court reporters as well once I have them in a folder. Um, in trial, though, I have everything ready to pull up, but we have paper copies of the exhibits to give to opposing counsel, to give to the witness. Some courtrooms, though, have moved away where they have, usually the judge has a monitor where we don't have to worry about giving a paper copy to the judge. Sometimes the witness has a monitor. If not, we have a paper copy that we provide to the witness and a paper copy that we provide to the defense if they want that. There's some that are more sophisticated. I tried a trial earlier this year where the defense lawyer was using TrialPad and didn't need me to give him hard copies of things. He had everything on his TrialPad.
One more, how do you recommend coding deposition transcripts in LidSuite so that key liability and damages testimony can be easily pulled for mediation motions and trial?
You use TranscriptPad. This is Samantha Jackal. This is a deposition that I took December of 2024. You can see that I've synced the video with it. So this is very powerful. And again, you can go through and read this deposition, and then you can issue code questions and answers. So you can see on the side. So I have different issue codes, Gary's children, inspection time. And then I also do them per witness, right? And then you can run reports of this deposition that identify each of those different issue codes, and you can create whatever issue code you want. You can also select the portion of the testimony, and you can choose to play it. I don't know if you'll be able to hear this. You can mark certain areas. So for example, like I've got a pre-marked video clip, this We Are Good video clip. So say and you just start pre-marking clips that you can use to impeach witnesses or live if you're in trial and you're like, wait a minute, they testified that the color was orange, not that it was green. And then you find the orange, you can tap on the lines that you want to play to the jury, and assuming you have the video synced, which is super easy to do. By the way, you don't have to pay to get videos synced. You don't have to pay extra. Just get an MP4 and load it into TranscriptPad, and it automatically syncs it for you. It's magic. It's amazing. So within TranscriptPad, then again, you can just mark and issue code the different the different issues in the case, and you can also create different clips within the case.
Hey, Hillary, Hillary, you're sharing your screen. I don't know if you can turn that off.
I can't even see that. Hold on. Let me see how that works.
So, Al, I guess there's a couple more questions that we had from the audience, and I wanted to ask you. When you depose witnesses via Zoom, how do you connect your iPad to your computer so that you show the witness and defense counsel your exhibits? Like, I know you went over that, but if you can just step by step again, like you join Zoom.
All right,
and then
let's start over.
Yeah.
So
thanks.
Yeah. So let's start over, and on Zoom, on the bottom, there's the share button. You click the share button, and then it will open a screen. And on the far right on the top, it says advanced. And then at least on my screen in the top left, it says iPhone/iPad via AirPlay, right? You highlight that, you click on that, and then you click share. So I'm going to pull down on the top right of my screen, and this is that mirror button right here. So you tap that mirror button, and then you tap on Zoom and whatever, I don't know, but those are my initials that show up. And if you tap on that, then this happens. So you'll be able to see your screen shared on Zoom, your iPad screen shared on Zoom. And then I'll go in the TrialPad, and for now, I'll go in the war room so that you can see my screen. So again, I went in, I did this button here, turned on war room so that you all can see my screen. And then you open up, and so here's a witness that I just did recently, Dr. Harlow. So I had different exhibits. And again, now if I wasn't in that teaching mode, you would only be seeing this part of it. You would not be seeing the left side of what you're seeing. You would be in the present mode, so it would look different. And then what you can do is you can, it's so cool. So if you saw what I did, so say then the deposition is over and you need to get these exhibits over to the court reporter. So you've used these exhibits, you hit this little finger up here. Okay. You highlight what you want to send over. You hit this little share button on the top right. Say share entire document so that all the documents are shared. And then you mail them. I mean, I like to use Outlook. You hit and your exhibits are going to then be sent over to the expert, or I'm sorry, to the court reporter. Um, this is a great way, by the way, if you want to have hard copies and print something off and you have this in TrialPad, again, you simply highlight, say I want to print exhibit 3, you hit this share button, share entire document, and then you hit print and it'll print it for you. And that's how you get your hard copy if you need. So, like when we were in trial last fall, we had a printer at our hotel that we brought with us. And if we were like, oh, shoot, we forgot to print out exhibit 3, we just went to our iPad, found it, printed it, done. Super easy.
Yeah, that's easy. I bet court reporters love it.
Yeah. Yeah, it works great.
So let's talk about perception and optics for a sec. After trial, jurors and the judge will tend to comment on how polished your presentation was. What do they typically say?
Well, I already gave you the example of the judge, which was, oh,
Yeah.
wow, that's cool when we did the redaction. But even the clerk, commented how easy her job was because of using the Apple TV and me and Brett each having our own iPads and switching mirroring. She didn't have to do anything as far as, doing any switching at her master control thing. It was a mess when the defense would have their iPads and be unhooking their HDMI from not iPad, from one laptop and attaching it to another laptop. It would be a huge mess because you'd see things you didn't want to see and all that kind of stuff. So then they would be asking the clerk to, well, can you turn off our feed until we get the HDMI cord moved to the right computer? And then don't turn it on until I tell you because, I got to find the document I want to work with. It was just clunky, time consuming. And the clerk just said, like, I didn't have to do anything to help you guys. It just flowed.
Well, we thank you so much. We actually are running a little bit long, but you recently, Cannon and Dunphy, recently became an enterprise partner. What led your firm to standardize around LitSuite rather than just using the individual apps purchased from the App Store?
Well, I mean, we've fully committed to using this, and since I use it every single day, and everyone has seen how well it's worked for me. More and more people have adapted it into their workflow. Jay, one of our associates, is all in, so it just became natural that we had to make it made sense. You save some money as opposed to buying individual licenses. When you buy them directly through Apple's App Store, and this is just the way we're going to try cases for. And I don't know that something else is going to come along that'll be any better. I doubt it. So we're all in on it.
And for the attorneys who are on who have never used TrialPad before, would you recommend our training? Andrea, provides sessions to our enterprise
Yeah.
customers.
Yep.
Suite
That,
Academy, where
and
would you start?
I would start. I would start. You have a pretty good supply of videos to help
Mhm.
walk through a lot of the basics. How to upload documents or things like that. Those videos are really helpful. Then if you run into a glitch, you can get trained as an enterprise customer and ask certain questions. So, but it's one of those things where you just have to commit to use it. And then once you commit to use it and you use it a few times, you cannot imagine not using it. Like it just becomes so natural and easy to work with documents, to prepare for trial. And then when you get to trial, there's no turning back.
Yeah, I'm sure that the next generation of trial lawyers will consider this a standard. Everyone these days has grown up with an iPad, so I'm not getting too many objections from the younger attorneys, which is
Right.
kind of cool. But thank you so much for sharing your experience with us, your workflow, and all these insights. And thanks to everyone who joined us. We really appreciate your time and hope today's discussion gave you the practical ideas you can apply in your own cases immediately. We will be back soon. As soon as we have our next featured pro lineup, we'll let you know. But feel free to drop us an email if you're interested in becoming our next featured pro. We'd love to have you on. Thanks so much. Talk soon. Bye.
Thank you. Thanks all.